Year is young, but it's never too early to start celebrating the finest movies offered up by both the multiplex and the art house. After only 4 months, moviegoers have been gifted with a bounty of great blockbusters, indies and documentaries, proving that filmmakers are continuing to find new ways, both big and small, to entertain, excite and enlighten. No doubt there are numerous gems to come in the months ahead, given that by the holidays, we'll have the latest works from acclaimed directors like Paul Thomas Anderson, Martin Scorsese, and Steven Spielberg, to name just 3. For now, however, these are our current picks for the best films of 2017. 5. Alien Covenant. Blending the body horror of his 1979 Alien, the gung-ho combat of James Cameron's 1986 sequel Aliens, and the philosophical grandiosity of his 2012 prequel Prometheus, not to mention the man and machine musings of his 1982 Blade Runner, Ridley Scott delivers a biblically scaled interstellar nightmare with Alien Covenant. Scott's latest spends its first hour setting up a familiar battle between human colonists and angry xenomorphs, after the former decide to investigate a mysterious distress signal from a nearby planet. Yet after expertly going through the tried and true monster movie motions, the director then shifts gears by turning his prime attention to Michael Fassbender's android David, who, it turns out, is an inhabitant of this ancient world. Face-huggers, backbursters, mecha-doppelgangers and the most narcissistic homoerotic sequence in sci-fi history soon follow, with the action immaculately designed for suspense, scares and sly sinister humor. At once a thrilling blockbuster spectacle, and an inventive expansion of the franchise's core themes, it's the rare prequel to truly justify its existence. 4. I Called Him Morgan. Lee Morgan was one of the mid-century jazz scene's brightest lights, until his life was cut tragically short when his wife Helen fatally gunned him down in a New York City nightclub on the snowy night of February 18, 1972. Using copious archival footage, newly recorded interviews with friends and collaborators, and, most illuminating of all, a tape-recorded 1996 interview with Helen made 1 month before her death, Casper Collins' transfixing documentary I Called Him Morgan recounts this surreal-life saga as 2 separate stories, Lee's and Helen's, that eventually dovetailed, intertwined, and then combusted in horrific fashion. Abandonment, drug abuse and betrayal all factor into this sorrowful equation, as Colin assuredly conveys the messy stew of passion, need, ego, loneliness, and fury that eventually begat such a calamity. In doing so, it recognizes the jazzy spirit of Lee and Helen's doomed romance, and, also, the riffing our way forward nature of life itself. 3. The Blackcoat's Daughter. Director Osgood Perkins is the son of Norman Bates himself, actor Anthony Perkins, but he proves to be a horror maestro in his own right with The Blackcoat's Daughter, a beguiling descent into dark, demonic places that's all the more chilling for refusing to chart a simple straight and narrow course. In upstate New York, Cat, Mad Men's Kiernan Shipka, is left by her parents to spend winter break at her boarding school alongside more popular Rose, Lucy Boynton. Meanwhile, Joan, Emma Roberts, endeavors to hitchhike her way to the school, eventually nabbing a ride with a contentious couple, James Remark and Lauren Holly. What these 3 girls have to do with each other is a mystery to be unraveled. However, it's ultimately far less important than the overarching air of loss, of parents, of virginity, of adolescence, and grief that consumes them. It eventually becomes clear that all is not right with this institute and its Satan-admiring staff members. Yet what lingers is the pervasive fear of abandonment, all of it encapsulated by Robert's final, unforgettable primal scream. 2. John Wick Chapter 2. Rarely has a film seemed less in need of a sequel than 2014's John Wick, a self-contained bit of action cinema perfection. Nonetheless, John Wick Chapter 2 manages to justify its own existence through a constant barrage of masterful gung-fu carnage, with bullets flying at a jaw-dropping rate courtesy of Keanu Reeves' nattily dressed assassin. Director David Leitch's follow-up is a symphonic orgy of frenzied firearm warfare, with violence here depicted as a culinary art form performed by stylish Zen goddesses with philosophical souls. It's akin to a hybrid of Jean-Pierre Melville's noir cool and Marvel's superhero fantasy, all underworld rules and regulations and unbelievable feats of fearsome brutality, with Reeves exuding male model chicness and powder keg explosiveness as the epicenter of this murderous maelstrom. While the film's reason for once again forcing Wick out of retirement isn't nearly as gripping as its predecessor's vengeance for his dead dog motivation, the specifics of Chapter 2 wind up mattering little in the face of so much exhilarating death and destruction. 1. I don't feel at home in this world anymore. Suspenseful and hilarious, despondent and optimistic, I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore is a masterful genre film, one that immerses itself in the small, painful indignities of everyday life, and then casts the battle against those wrongs as a serio-comic odyssey of sleuthing, heavy metal and nunchucks. After her house is burglarized, Nurse Ruth, Melanie Linsky, partners with rat-tailed martial arts-loving neighbor Tony, Elijah Wood, to recover her stolen belongings. Their ensuing black comedy adventure is grimy, bloody, and ridiculous, as director Macon Blair, best known for his performances in Jeremy Saulnier's Blue Ruin and Green Room, pitches his material as an absurdist neo-noir saga about combating existential despair. Courtesy of a great Lansky performance that's equal parts miserable and furious, I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore, which won the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance, before premiering exclusively on Netflix, finds humor and horror in the notion that not everyone is an asshole, and then locates hope in the closing note idea that, rather than worrying about them, life is best spent in the company of those precious few who aren't.